Let's do it.
This is Witty Banter. Alrighty. So, Hunter, rumblings have been going around these past couple days that seem to indicate that Radiohead is at work at another album, right?
Yes.
A series of mysterious tweets came out where we saw Thom Yorke was releasing to the public that he had been in this Radiohead studio for 2 days. Then he tweeted a picture of this white vinyl that was on this sexy little turntable. And even Phil Selway himself mentioned that the band would be returning to the studio this month to follow up on King of Limbs.
Yeah.
So we're all super excited about that. Obviously, we can't wait. But it turns out that the shenanigans that Thom Yorke was pulling was just a little teaser at what went down this morning.
And what is that?
He has released his newest solo album today. And that he not only is he releasing it, but he's releasing it in 2 separate ways. You can go onto a website, pay $6 for it.
Okay.
Or you can go to BitTorrent, where he put the files himself and get it for free.
Dude, that's wild.
And this is a quote, okay, before we jump into this. He says, it's an experiment, quote, "If it works well, it could be an effective way of handling handing some control of the internet commerce back to people who are creating the work, enabling those people who make either music, video, or any other kind of digital content to sell it themselves, bypassing the self-elected gatekeepers. If it works, anyone can do exactly as we have done."
So are they saying that by giving it this kind of like open air, we're going to let everybody just decide what the value of this is by voting with their wallet, that he thinks that they should be able to make just as much money doing that?
I mean, we're going to get to see the results of this, but essentially he's testing out 2 different ways of music distribution simultaneously. You can buy it from the website, or you can go get it for free.
Yeah.
And we'll see A, how much money I make, B, or how many people it ends up getting to, and see if it's a success. Because if it is a success, because, you know, we even talked about on the show months ago about his apprehension with content providing websites like Spotify, where they get so much of the royalty. And through this quote, it really shows me that he is looking to try to debunk these quote-unquote self-elected gatekeepers and put the power in the people creating and allowing them to sell things themselves through to customers and getting the profit of their work.
That's cool, but is putting all your stuff out for people to be able to get for free, is that really empowering the artist, especially if you're not as well known as Radiohead? You know, I mean,
right.
If I'm a medium-sized artist and there's like a pretty sizable market for my music and people wanting my music, if I do the same thing that Radiohead's doing, and Radiohead is considered maybe one of the biggest and most influential bands in the world, I don't think I'm going to get the same results of people being like, I would rather pay $6 than, you know, just BitTorrent it. Because I even said this morning, I would totally pay the $6 just to get his new album.
Yeah,
sure.
As a fan who wants to contribute.
Right, yeah.
You know?
Vote, like you always say, vote with your wallet. And so I would totally do that. But if it was like Jason Mraz or something, you know, like, are people going to pay him $6? No, they're probably just going to BitTorrent it because...
It's just, you bring up a great point. It's easy for Thom Yorke to say because he's Thom Yorke. And I really wish we could have somebody who maybe was like a fledgling artist or like a startup artist to say what...
We need Nick here.
We need Nick's opinion, man. Because seriously, there are bands now that when they open up a show, they have a table with all their CDs, and they tried themselves the pay as you want thing, and I have no idea how it ends up working for them. I don't know if how you sell your music can bolster your actual music, because then there's this situation where, well, maybe it didn't sell just because it wasn't very good.
Right.
But then even think about this show. Like, this show's free.
Yeah. It's incredibly free.
And we try our best to get it out there as much as possible, as easy as possible, rather than right out the bat saying, okay, $1 for every episode. Maybe we're trying to build our audience base beforehand so we can monetize it later.
Right, yeah.
Bend over, Banter Nation. We're coming for your wallets.
That would be great if we could monetize this somehow, but I mean, that's not even really the goal, you know? I mean,
yeah, I mean, that's true.
That would be an awesome side effect, but I feel like with music, I mean, if you're going to be a musician, then like you have to make money to be able to survive off of your art. And I think that one thing that I can commend Thom Yorke for doing with this is he's pushing the idea that, one, music is art, and two, that art can be interpreted in different ways. whenever you have somebody like these self-elected gatekeepers putting on value amounts onto how much it's going to cost for you to be able to get this song, you're determining a value for that song, or you're determining a value for that album. And what Thom Yorke is doing is saying, dude, if you really like this album, then you have the ability to pay for it however much you think that it's worth. Mm-hmm. If you don't like this album, I'm not going to make you pay for it, which is awesome because that's art at its finest, in my opinion. You know,
that's a great point. I didn't think about that. Yeah. I didn't get that out of the article. I think my only takeaway was I just like to see him championing the idea that we're trying to separate the middleman as much as possible, and that those who create are the ones that should get benefit. You know, I shouldn't have to get permission to get my money from somebody who collects what I do, you know.
And it's just so cool that, I mean, he does this, he's been doing this the last, I don't know, since In Rainbows.
I was about to say, starting with In Rainbows.
Like, he's been not only being, you know...
Tell them what they did with In Rainbows.
Well, within Rainbows, they basically just put it on their website for free, and it was the same thing. It was like, donate however much you want, or however much you feel like this is worth, that you're willing to pay for it. They did that for about 6 months, and I think they ended up getting more money from that method of distribution than the normal method of going through big, you know, record companies and stuff.
And you know, they were the first one to try that.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I was getting at. Like, they've been doing that since In Rainbows, and it's so awesome to see musicians that not only take their musical craft seriously and they continue to experiment and progress, and it's like the idea that, you know, the best album is still out there kind of for them, but they're also experimenting on distribution and how it affects the sociology interacting with music. I mean, whenever they're doing these kind of experiments and seeing how people react, and like it's like prodding different buttons in society and being like, well, how can we exploit certain, you know, things in the market? Yeah, things in the market that are latent that haven't really been touched on, but if we touch on these, will that be able to get us to where we want to go with like less middleman and empowering the artist with more power to be able to distribute and successfully, you know, hold up a lifestyle for yourself?
And what I see is every time they do that, they're angering the people who they're trying to anger.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's kind of working is cool.
It's tribute to what their efforts are.
Totally. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and move on to number 2.